Alright, Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all present today. Welcome to the fourth round of the English debate competition InterVarsity Science e-Debate Challenge 2021. The motion for this debate is this House, as a developing country, will aggressively promote the use of alternative medicines. I will be the chairperson and the timekeeper for room 3. Let me now introduce the debaters to you. Acting as the government team for this debate is a team from UDKLA with Mr. Adam as the Prime Minister, Irfan as the Deputy Prime Minister, Haziq as the government whip, and acting as the opposition team for this debate is a team from IMU with Miss Ashka as the opposition leader, Sandra as the second opposition speaker, Mikhail as the opposition whip. Our panel of adjudicators consists of Mr. Patrick Sir William, Mr. Amir Sarzwan bin Zaili, Miss Dina Patricia binti Adi Azhar, and Miss Troy So Junyi. Now, we come to our debate. To open the case from the government team, I call upon the Prime Minister to start the debate session. The floor is yours.
Am I audible?
You are.
Okay, I will. Let me open my timer just in case. Okay, I will start in 1, 2, 3. Good evening, Mr. Speaker, fellow educators, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are having a great day today. Before we starting today's debate, I will share a quote that resonates with this debate. Medicine is a science of uncertainty and art of probability, and I do agree with that. So moving on to the introduction, the topic for today's motion is that this House, as a developing country, would aggressively to promote the use of alternative medicine. We define this motion as aggressively promoting the use of alternative medicine. What do we mean by developing country? Is a developing country is a country with a less developed industrial base and a low human development index, or HDI, to other countries. The HDI was created to emphasize the people and their capabilities should be ultimate criteria for assessing the development of country, not their economic growth alone. Alternative medicine is a term that describes medical treatments are used instead of traditional mainstream therapies. Alternative medicine is distinct from complementary medicine, which meant to accompany, not to replace, standard medical practice. Let me repeat, we're not replacing the standard medical practices. The type of alternative medicine. There is a lot of alternative medicine, but I will include some, which is homeopathy, traditional medicine, chiropractic, acupuncture, and many more. And moving on, what do we mean by aggressively promoting? Yes, we do agree with the benefit of traditional medicine, but if they opt for alternative medicine, we are strongly agree and promote more to them. This is not a force. It's up to the stakeholder itself, the people in the country. It's up to them to choose what medicine they want. Depends on the capabilities and the economic structure. Our stance is very clear. We, as a government team, as a developing nation, we want to aggressively promote the alternative medicine for those in need. Let me repeat, for those in need. We do take in mind for those that wanted to opt for traditional medicine, and we are okay with that. We just want to help for those in need. So in the status quo, in a developed nation, a developed country is we know that it's less developed compared to other nations. The economy in a developing country do not have sometimes the people there do not have the money to pay for such expensive treatment in hospital. We already know that treatment in hospital are super expensive, and some of people cannot afford it. And more and so, we are in a developing country. It's gonna make it's hard for them to pay for this such of expensive medicine. Okay, I will give you an example. Imagine we are in a health crisis. Our economy are hurted by it. It would affect the most people at most, the stakeholder, the people here. People are burdened with the things, with the health crisis somehow, but they are affected by their health and also the money. We are talking about how are they going to pay? How are they going to afford? and how are they to ensure that all of their families, imagine a family person, how are they ensure that they can afford this kind of treatment? Hence, we propose some mechanism. First, we are promoting, educating the good effects of alternative medicines by the stimulates by promoting to them. We can stimulate in the consumer attitude towards the alternative medicine. Also, we need to educate them, because education is important. Because when we already know the benefit and the benefit of alternative medicine, we can ensure that people will opt for it. But we are not forcing them. And second, we are ensuring the alternative medicine will be governed by the government. Justification is that to ensure the quality of alternative medicine to be top quality. We're not talking about some shady stores that, oh, we are giving a pill that giving an alternative medicine that can ensure to heal everything. Because as we know, in Malaysia also, we do have an act. It's called Act of Traditional and Complementary Medicine Act 2016. Everything will be secure and ensure the safety for all people and the stakeholder for those that using it. Moving on to the burden of proof, we want to know why we should, to the opposition, we want to know why we should not promote this alternative medicine, even though we already have the qualification and licenses to begin with. The goal of our debate is to help our country to become a better place and help for those in need of the medicine. Today, as the first speaker, I will be talking to you about the benefits of alternative medicine. Our second speaker will be talking about the benefit of the motion. And our third speaker will rebut and sum out the team case. I will moving on into my first argument. Alternative medicine is all about reharmonizing your body and your body terms. Using natural substances like herbs and oil. Alternative medicine is gentler than traditional medicine and typically doesn't cause side effects that damages your body. This is important, everyone. We are using natural substances, and natural substances have been proven by study that can help increase the potential and reduce sickness. Yes, we do agree that traditional medicine do have their benefit, but traditional medicine have more pros and cons. A key difference between traditional and alternative medicine is that most form of alternative medicine, the potential to help reduce the key difference between traditional and alternative, that alternative care about the whole body. We're not just targeting into certain places of the body, but we are emphasizing on the whole body care. So I could give you an example of painkiller and chiropractor. Many patients like the idea of therapy because seems natural and non-toxic. I know the toxicness can help the people, but sometimes we need to talk about in the side of the stakeholders, that the people, they want to opt to something that is more natural. Hence, chiropractor could help. For example, you have your arm not feeling good, you're not opting for painkiller, then you can go to chiropractor. Both are good, but we want to promote them to a better alternative and cheaper. And there's also evidence that feeling good can reduce. So imagine that we're going to alternative medicine, it could make us feel good and reduce stress. And by reducing stress, we can ensure to not have, can help boost the immune system, And moving on to my next argument is that traditional medicine requires high-tech tools, engineered medicines, and surgeries that can very costly. So this is relating to my first argument. First point is that we live in an economic crisis, so everything is going to be expensive, and everyone is going to be affected by it. Since alternative medicine uses energies, oils, herbs, therapeutic touch to heal, treatments generally are less expensive. This has been proven as alternative medicine is more cheaper compared to this. Why we are that? Because we are thinking about the people. They can afford this kind of medicine. We want them to ensure their health is being taken care of. And by being cheap, we can ensure that people are using this alternative medicine that we are promoting, and they are going to be safe. So I think we are end this by, I think that using alternative medicine could benefit the country itself, and I raise my case. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Prime Minister. Now, to open the case from the opposition team, I call upon the leader of opposition to continue the debate session.
Hi, everyone. Is it okay if I don't have my camera on because the connection in my place is a little bit unstable today? Hope that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Can you give me a countdown and then I'll start. So 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. My name is Ashika. I am the leader of opposition against this motion that, sorry, hold on, give me a second. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to start with is going through a little bit more about these definitions. The definitions that was given by Prime Minister regarding the developing countries, we definitely stand by them. The characterization of alternative medicine, however, that we definitely have some contentions against the way that they've characterized alternative medicine. And I'm going to be talking about that in my speech. And then I'm also going to talk more about what it means to aggressively promote and how that's different from how status quo operates. And then I'm going to talk about how this impacts developing countries and why we need to frame it in the context of developing countries. So first, I'm going to start with explaining how alternative medicine is different, or in this case, what we're trying to argue is worse than conventional medicine. So these are usually therapies with possible benefits that are not, cannot, or have already been proven to be either ineffective, or even if they are effective, without basis within our understanding of science and under the exploration, through the exploration of scientific methodologies. Right? So, for example, homeopathy is an example of an alternative medicine that goes against our fundamental understanding of chemistry, because it is the belief that by further diluting a solution, you make it more potent. So this is just an important characterization to bring up here, because even if you're talking about parts of alternative medicine or parts of complementary medicine that have its benefits, it's important to recognize that what makes them different from conventional medicine is the fact that it either goes against some well-known idea of how science works, or it's not falsifiable, or it's not replicable. It's not replicable to the extent that we believe makes something scientifically sound or scientifically valid. And that is completely unrelated to whether it causes a therapeutic effect or not. And that's something to consider as well. And secondly, the idea of aggressively promoting. So in current status quo, governments don't actively, sorry, I haven't finished talking about this yet, but aggressively promoting in status quo is completely different from how governments handle alternative medicine currently now. Governments don't actively legitimize or recognize alternative medicine, but it is still practiced today. So I think that this is very important, because I think government pushes this benefit that more people will practice these things because they're cheaper if you actively promote it. But we don't think that that's a benefit that's mutually exclusive to them, because in our paradigm, nobody in status quo, nobody is actively stopped from pursuing these therapies. And an example in Malaysia, people still practice go to chiropractors, people still take these medicinal herbs. So it's not government currently now is actively punishing people for practicing these things. It's just not aggressively promoted. And there is a very important reason as to why. The current reason why status quo refuses to accept these therapies is because it hasn't gone through the rigorous scientific methodology that we believe is important to legitimize and validate certain therapies, to ensure that they are sorry, I'm not finished yet. Those that are able to actually reliably give the therapeutic benefit that it claims to have. And this is particularly important because when you're talking about parts of alternative medicine that can't by definition be proven in this way, you're talking about therapies that which are cheaper. People have a higher incentive to use them, especially in developing countries. And this means that they're also more likely to become over-reliant on these therapies in a practice where certain diseases, certain important diseases, the ones that are the most urgent, you don't have time to rely on these home therapies for the most important diseases, especially, right? The ones that matter the most, the ones that have the most impact. You do not necessarily have the time to spend like finding like the alternative solutions, by diluting like by like giving people too many options, you in a way also make it more difficult for people to decide like which therapy they should go for, and you end up pushing, you might end up pushing an over reliance, or more often than not, like legitimizing therapies that may give therapeutic benefits to some people, but in the case that they don't, like I think that is the most dangerous, right? So when people talk about like rushing certain like the reason why we don't rush like the development of certain drugs or rush the development of certain vaccines, for example, like the reason why that's potentially harmful is because if the government promotes something that could cause potential harm or does cause potential harm, there are like social repercussions to that, right? Because there is like a loss of distrust by the people in the government, in that if something bad does happen, like how are you going to justify that? How are you going to like mitigate those harms of people? Yeah, sure. I'll take your POI.
We're just basically just promoting this kind of medicines, though. We're not basically just saying that this is our replacements for the traditional medicines and stuff like that. So comment.
Yeah, but okay, well there is like an impact of political authority figures placing legitimate claims on medicine that may not work. Like for example, President Trump bringing up like an alternative medicine that may or may not work, it brings legitimate like claims to it. It brings legitimacy. You are an authoritative body that is telling people that this is something that is okay to do. And if that's not necessarily a proven point, that is very dangerous, because and so with that, I'm going to sort of like round off like where we are here. So hold on, sorry. The benefits that come from like side government are not like usually like their benefit, right? It can happen in ours as well, because we think that people who can't afford modern therapies will look for alternatives anyway. And so I don't understand why in our paradigm they wouldn't find those alternatives. Do they for taught these things? I'm not entirely sure. But even if they were taught about them, then the harms are also more likely to occur in your paradigm. And I don't think you've actually addressed on how to mitigate those harms to happen, and how you can explain and justify those people potentially going through therapies that would cost them more money in the first place, because they're spending more time trying to heal themselves and not spending time, I don't know, working. And instead they're like spending more time relying on more therapies. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you to Ms. Ashika, the opposition leader. Now, I'd like to call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the case from their side.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. One, two, three. Choose for the side opposition if you believe and you do not. If you believe that you want to stay in a small box without giving the alternative choices that you want to live. Choose the side opposition if you believe that there's only one way to cure something. There's no other way that is possible for you to cure your problem that you have. It doesn't necessarily mean traditional medicine. It also involves alternative medicine, which is why and what the side opposition opposes at the end for today's debate. Now, let me affirm my stance for today's debate and my government stance for today's debate. this house, as a developing country, will aggressively promote the use of alternative medicine. So the stance for our debate today is that we truly agree as a developing country that we would definitely aggressively promote the use of alternative medicine to those people who actually opt to use alternative medicine. So it will not be a harm to those who actually opt to use traditional medicine, because we actually acknowledge the benefits that it comes with it, and we are totally fine with it. What the debate today is actually on the fact that whether alternative medicine should actually be aggressively promoted in the first place, right? But before that, let me go towards my rebuttals towards what the side opposition said for today. They simply say to us and that that people will be over reliant. I will tell you later on my arguments that I'm going to state to you why people wouldn't be over reliant, and that why over reliant is actually beneficial, even though there are harms, but it's going to be beneficial at the end of the day if there are cure and it works at the end of the day, right? And then they simply talk to us that people are going to spend more money, and that people spend more money and time towards this alternative medicine, alternative therapy. Look, if it works, then people will spend even more money and people will spend even more time. If it doesn't work, why would they be spending even more money in the first place, right? So I don't understand where the side opposition goes with it, right? Now, before I continue with my arguments, I'm going to say to you the things that I'm going to be talking on today's debate, where they don't even see on the stakeholder and on the current status quo, and also the stakeholder of today's debate. The stakeholder of today's debate doesn't necessarily mean people who are sick, but it is also towards people who actually use alternative medicine, and also on the economy itself, which I'm going to talk on today's debate. First, I'm going to talk on the fact that people will not be over-reliant. Second, I'm going to talk the benefit if this motion passes. Third, I'm going to talk if the harms if this motion doesn't pass. Now, first, I'm going to talk why people will not be over-reliant, right? When people have been given a lot of choices in the first place, when we talk, when let's say there were situations that there was no alternative medicine, they will only be stuck to use medicine. Therefore, they will be over-reliant towards traditional medicine, and that's okay, because if it's benefits for them, then okay. Then when we see towards alternative medicine, if they believe that it works for them, that it's going to be okay, and they become over-reliant to it, then so be it, because it's their choice at the end of the day. What we're doing is basically to aggressively promote it. If they believe it works, then we totally agree and we support them. They are going to spend their own money, because at the end of the day, it's their choice. If they believe that they can do it, then so be it. Now let's talk about the benefit if this motion passes towards the context of a developing country, right? So what we understand of a developing country. So developing country is basically a country is trying to build back their infrastructure. It's just to gain back more capital resources to make their country is even better. So how is it actually by aggressively promoting this alternative medicine is actually going to further benefit this developing country? How is actually by actually opening more sector of jobs towards this alternative medicine. We can actually see more companies opening jobs. That we can actually see more companies opening jobs because there are demands for this. Hence why we want to promote it even better, because when there are demands, more companies will be open. Therefore, people will spend more money towards this. When we see that more cash transaction happening, meaning that taxes are being paid, that people and the country itself can get, that country itself can be benefit from this. That the income is actually circulating within the country to have the country build even better, to be even bigger, even better, to be even in the first world country at the end of the day, right? So what do we see for the stakeholder? No, thank you. People who are sick at the end of the day, if they think that alternative medicine is good, therefore they can have a good quality of life. This is what the side opposition fail to see. Let's look at the impact of developing country if this motion passes. What we can see is that from 2000 to 2018, that pharmaceutical set data, this sector actually have cumulative revenue of 11.5 trillion, which with gross profit of 8.6 trillion, which side opposition failed to see how is it going to help this developing country even more. Now, second, I'm going to talk other than the developed country, I'm going to talk about a broader choice. People are always thinking that that they are only stuck towards traditional medicine when there are better and alternative methods that are also cheaper for those who are in needs of this alternative medicine. We're not talking about those who do not need alternative medicine, but why are there alternative medicine in the first place? Because they are cheap, because they are accessible to those who are inaccessible to have a better medicine. Just because they are poor, that doesn't mean that they should not be access to traditional medicine, that they can also access to alternative medicine, which is like going for homeopathy and also going for chiropractor, or probably like Tai Chi and yoga just to make them feel better, then so be it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about harms if this motion doesn't pass. When we talk about people who are sick, who are unable to afford medicine, what if there are people who are sick, but then they are unaffordable, they are unafford to get medicine, which is very unaffordable. Where are the solution for this, which the side opposition, the side government cannot see? Because in opposition world, they do not have any option, because they would rather have to just live with that disease, have to just live in suffer, because they will never be away, just because they think that it is not research enough. Therefore, there will never be a choice for them. Now, then I'm going to talk about the development, the harms of development country, right? When we see that this motion does not pass us, that the development of country will be slow, right? So when we talk about development of country will be slow, let's see what happens to those less developed country, where they have lack infrastructure, lack hospital, hospital to even cater for those sick people. So how can a country does not have this good infrastructure in the first place? And then that they just because they cannot have this infrastructure is because they do not have enough resource capital, where income is not being used enough at the end of the day. Now, let me summarize my points for today's debate. I've talked to you first on that how people will not be over-reliant. Second, I talked to you benefit if this motion passes for the developing country and a broader choice for those people. And then third, I talk to you harms of this if this motion doesn't pass, on the fact that people who are sick, who are unable to afford this medicine. Second, I've talked to you development of country would be slow. Therefore, the side opposition, please prove to us that these models, these issues will be solved on your side. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the speaker for such remarks. Now, I'll call upon the deputy leader of the opposition team to continue the case from their side.
Hello. Is it alright if I can't turn on my camera? I previously disconnected in another one, and I feel like it'll be better.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay. Alright. So I would like to begin by saying it is very interesting that the Deputy Prime Minister was able to pull up precise statistics on the spot in a debate that strictly prohibits Googling, which raises the question of how valid are the points coming from the opposing team, as seeing as they are not even abiding by the rules that are set forth in this debate. How much of their paradigm is truly their own information? But with that being said, let's go into some of the points that they brought up. Firstly, it was previously stated that they need traditional and alternative medicine, and they will promote it because they want people to use traditional medicine. However, we would like to bring out that in status quo there is room for traditional medicine, and traditional medicine has been used alongside modern medicine. We feel that status quo as it is capable of self-regulating. People do not rely too much on alternative medicine, and the fact that the government wants to actively promote this actually brings about more harm than good, and this is what we would like to go into. It was stated that there are economic benefits by the first and second speaker inside government due to the fact that alternative medicine might be cheaper. However, we would also like to bring up the fact that alternative medicine is not always efficient. This is important to know, because even if the government is promoting alternative medicine, even if they are only promoting the alternative medicine being provided by facilities working with the government, this is going to increase the public perception of. This is going to change the public perception of alternative medicine. As of now, it is viewed as something that is secondary to modern medicine and something that might work. And people are aware. People are aware that they're going into this knowing that there's a risk, there's a benefit, and they will take this into consideration. With government endorsement, people's views of alternative medicine will shift. They will start viewing alternative medicine in a better light, and this might cause them to take risks that they might not otherwise take. For example, for example, some forms of alternative medicine, such as turmeric. We're all familiar with turmeric, hopefully. Turmeric is sorry, I need to plug in my PC. Apologies for that. Give me a second. Okay, so turmeric is comes from a herb, and it has medicinal properties such as anti-inflammatory properties, and it's commonly used as a home remedy or as alternative medicine. Now, if we were to promote its view, as it is, status quo is capable of self-regulating because people are aware of where the benefits end and how much it can benefit them and where the benefits end. However, if the government were to actively promote this product, people will begin using it in situations where it may be deemed inappropriate, in situations where you actually need to go to a doctor. We are going to be changing the public perception. This is not something we want. This is not something we want. It was said that the government will regulate, but government will be regulating them and educating them on the benefits of traditional medicine. We have already proven that this brings about the harm of people viewing alternative medicine as a viable alternative to traditional medicine. Also, secondly, it was also brought up that it is more affordable. It is more affordable, so we should let them use alternative medicine. And this is extremely extremely cruel of the government to say that poor people, those who cannot afford it, should use less reliable forms of medicine, such as alternative medicine, which, by the way, does not come with clinical trials, does not have a plethora of scientific research backing its claims, and we are essentially saying poor people should if they're poor, we're sorry, later. If they're poor, they'll have to be fine with using medicine that is potentially of a lower quality. Why should not the focus of the government be on making modern medicine more accessible to these people rather than promoting alternative forms? This is actually highly discriminatory. This is going to further impact this is going to have serious socioeconomic implications, in which those who can afford it will by default have access to better treatment, while those who cannot and are possibly those who cannot will be forced to resort to traditional medicine, and we have already mentioned the harms of this. Yes, I will take your POI.
You're saying that these medicines are not reliable and stuff like that. Do you think that we use these other methods just to test people, or like there are human lab rats or something like that?
I don't quite understand the POI, but I think the question was, are we using these medicines to test people like they're human lab rats? And to answer that, no, we have not run any sort of clinical trials. There is little to no evidence backing the use of many forms of of traditional medicine or alternative medicine, and we feel that there isn't sufficient evidence in the scientific community in order to justify its use in oh my god. Sorry. Sorry, I was the other chat. Sorry, it was the WebEx thing. Apologies. So we do not have sufficient evidence in order to justify the government actively promoting this. We have seen this when Donald Trump publicly stated publicly stated that people could try hydroxyquinine and injecting bleach as an alternative remedy. This was as an alternative remedy as a solution to COVID. This shows that authority figures have the power to influence the public perception, what people do, say, and think. We feel that it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that any information that they are putting up is first verified by a credible medical body. That the information they are putting up will not bring the people to harm. While we are aware that this might be a bit of an extreme example, want to promote a field of medicine that is already disputed in its usefulness to the public, because this will lead to further repercussions. It was also previously stated that people will not spend more on alternative medicine if it doesn't work, which is false, because essentially it was essentially essentially they will be spending on treatments that may or may not work, and whether or not it works, the sunk cost is already there. People are wasting their money unless and given the fact that there isn't enough evidence or in order to prove the government's paradigm. I believe that House opposition has won this debate. I have never been prouder to represent. Thank you.
Thank you to the leader of the opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, I should now call upon the government whip to rebut.
Hello? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hello? All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Wait. Alright. I think I'm lagging a little bit. It's okay lah. I'll start my debate in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, what have we learned today? What we have learned today, we believe that the opposition side today, it is so delusional. They are thinking that they basically, if we need a resolution, if we need a solution to something, there's only one answer towards it. We strongly disagree about the opposition today. So before I start my debate from today, I would like to divide my role into two. First, I will rebut every single thing that the opposition side said, and second, I would stand for our case on the government side. All right. So moving on to the government side, we are talking about how using these natural herbs doesn't cause side effects and stuff like that. Doesn't really affect you much, and it is more gentle towards humans and stuff like that. And we could see that the surrounding itself also does affects those humans. For example, if we have children who are basically, there are people around the world that are afraid of hospitals and stuff like that. By using this kind of home remedy, they actually prefers. There are customers for this. There are demands for this kind of herbs and medicines. So we believe that there are good effects of the remedy itself, and we believe that by opening up another lane, or basically these alternative medicines, we could basically we could just help people out. We could help those people who are below the poverty line, who doesn't have enough money, because we are talking about a developing country. We are talking about the country which doesn't have a lot of money, who doesn't have a lot of infrastructure to build, who basically the Korean MCO itself tells the story itself. We could see that a lot of hospitals are being crowded. We could see a lot of procedures are being taken for us to meet a specialist and stuff like that. So there are steps, and those steps requires times, more and more money, which proves that this home remedy is basically just helping out even more. We are providing an option for the norm to pick, instead of just closing up every single option. So we move on to the opposition side, where they are talking to the first speaker, where they are talking about not how these medicines are not effective, how these medicines are not going to research and stuff like that. Which I believe that the favorite word of the first speaker today is just what if. Those are just the assumptions that I really makes me mad. They are just talking about, okay, this medicine haven't gone through this stuff and stuff like that, hasn't gone to research and stuff like that. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am to tell you that these traditional medicines exist for maybe tens or maybe hundreds of years, but these traditional medicines, but these alternative medicines, which is herbs and stuff like that, have been proven since thousands and thousands of years. People are using these herbs since the very beginning of humanity, and we believe that if they are helping humans to heal, or basically to achieve some goal and stuff like that, why do you say that this kind of medicine doesn't have benefits and stuff like that? And one more thing that I don't understand about the opposition side is they are saying that these kind of things will have side effects and stuff like that are not verified, and using Trump as their main fact, which I really don't understand. But why do you have to relate with bleach and stuff like that? People nowadays, they are educated. We are not just making this, we are not just suggesting these medicines just because we think that, it is a remedy, it is good and stuff like that. We have specialists. Nowadays, you have specialists, even specialists who quit their jobs just because they want to research on this kind of remedy. We have a lot of people are working on this kind of remedies. We have a lot of people are trying to improve these medicines daily. And we believe that these kind of things should be counted, because it is not just like some kind of options where we could just throw people in and we believe that it might work, it might not work. But at the end of the day, you must understand that these are an option. We are putting research in that. We have millions and millions invested in that, which have been stated by the second speaker just now. We have reviews. We have a lot of things that people are talking good about this kind of stuff. If the main thing is if those kind of things have demands, if those kind of things have reviews, and if those kind of things are being recommended around, even not by the government itself, which is already proved that those kind of things works at the end of the day, whether it is for you or not. If it doesn't work at the end of the day, just go to back to the traditional medicine. What we are saying right now is we are providing another method which is better, which is cheaper, and which is basically accessible to all the norms. All right. So moving on to the government side, again, we are talking about how these kind of sectors could open jobs, how there are demands, and how the increasing of economic growth and stuff like that. We believe that people are paying taxes and stuff like that. And basically, what we are trying to show you that basically this kind of medicines basically just open up to a whole new world. It could affect a lot of people. For example, the people who use the medicine itself, the people who need the medicines, and also the economic growth itself. So we believe that those kind of things should be counted in order for us to allow or to basically just promote these kind of things more. So and then we are talking about the cheap, how cheap it is, how accessible it is, the benefits and the demands. And again, we are talking about how these are basically the solutions towards those who are below the poverty line. For example, if you don't have enough money, what will happen to this kind of people? We already have the method. We already have a cheaper method, a better method for us to promote, for us to basically provide to those norms. What happened to them? We just let them just basically just be in pain, in suffering, because we don't have other medicines, because they don't have other medicines. They can't afford those kind of things. So we just let them suffer and stuff like that. So we just let them live the whole life without having a cure and stuff like that. We believe that that is very, very crucial for us to allow these kind of medicines. All right, so moving on to the opposition side, they are talking about how efficient and how it is a secondary option and stuff like that. So what is the problem for this kind of medicine become a secondary option? If it works, if it has the demands for it, if it cures people, if it heals people, why not? Why don't we just basically promote them and let them be? So and then they are talking about how these kind of people who overuse, and at the end of the day, we don't need traditional medicine, we don't need doctors and stuff like that. This is what we don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. This kind of this kind of medicines, at the end of the day, it will work until a certain extent. We believe that it will work until a certain extent. There are benefits to it, but it won't cure cancer and stuff like that. But it helps. It helps to at least reduce those kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, if you are crucial, if you have the money, if you feel like you need to be treated more, just go to the traditional medicines. What we are saying that we are just promoting this kind of things to make it more accessible. And she also talks about why not promote our traditional medicines and making them more accessible and stuff. This is the problem from the opposition side. We are already doing those kind of things. So what we are trying to say is we are thinking about the whole society itself. We understand there are people who can afford the traditional medicines and stuff like that. But what happened to those who are under poverty line, to those who are sick and cannot afford this kind of medicine? That is what I want the opposition side to prove what will happen to them today. All right, and then at the end of the day, they're asking about evidence and stuff like that. What I stated just now about how these medicines are being used for hundreds, maybe millions of years ago, since humanity is born itself, also already becomes proof that this herbs works and it heals and it has reviews, and a lot of people are demanding for it. And we believe that this motion today is that this house, as a developing country, would aggressively promote the use of alternative medicine. And as a second speaker for today, I will rest my case here. Thank you.
Thank you to the Gomo Whips for such remarks. Now it's time to listen to the rebuttals of the opposition whip. The floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the opposition whip speech, where we will try to summarize everything that happened in today's debate, right? So today, the motion is this House would, as a developing country, aggressively promote the use of alternative medicine. Now, first, we have to establish who are we fighting for here, right? Because a lot of the points that were made, one of the many points that were made by the government is that it creates some sort of market because it has a supply, it has a demand, and people get jobs out of it, right? And sure, that is a sort of agreeable benefit to allowing traditional medicine, right? But here's the thing, right? What we're trying to achieve is not how much money the country is going to make, right? Sure, it's something that should be strived for, but we're fighting for the people here. We're trying to fight for health, and we do not care how much the country makes. We do not care how much corporations make, because that's inherently secondary to whatever we're trying to fight for here, right? And if anything, even if you want to set how much money a country makes as the number one priority, right? Even in this scenario, opposition should still win because of the beneficial effects of alternative medicine being null, as in it doesn't work, right? Therefore, it increases the amount of if you do a cost benefit analysis, you'll realize that if people don't get treated for whatever treatment that they have because alternative medicine doesn't work, then they stop working because they are unable to work, and then that will cause further problems because economies are shutting down, right? Imagine if the coronavirus hit Malaysia, right? And instead of staying at home following modern medicine, you instead take like 7 cups of habatus sauda and just go around because you believe that it works, right? And then the whole economy collapses because everybody's sick, no one can work. That's ultimately even worse for the economy. It doesn't matter how much the habatus sauda business makes money, right? I'll skip that PRI for now. Okay, so that's what we're trying to fight here, right? So we believe that the yardstick for success of whether government or opposition should win is which one benefits health-wise, right? And so let's go. Ask about the question: which side better helps the people, right? And government has on multiple occasions mentioned what would happen to poor people, right? In our scenario, in their scenario, and that's something that we want to go over, right? So why is it that we believe that? Okay, first of all, I want to go for rebuttals over the government speeches, right? Number one, they say that alternative medicine is for those who need it because they can't always afford the treatment, right? And like we said, because those treatments are ineffective, they will still require treatment, right? If you have back pain, you eat something, you still have back pain. Not only did you waste money buying the thing that doesn't work, now you have to go for proper treatment, and sometimes there's side effects. Look, herbs are not okay. That's the second point. Let me get into that later. But there are side effects that you have to now solve, right? If you now have heart problems in addition to back pain because of whatever herbs you ate, right? Now you have to solve those problems too. It's really funny that they call opposition delusional because literally we are from a medical university. We have 2 medical students, right? So let me explain more about that, right? Okay, number 2, right? What government said. Sorry, this is a really good one, right? Government said that alternative medicine is safer because it's from naturally occurring sources, right? Now this is very funny, right? Because you know what traditional medicine is for like knee pain, right? If you go to like Chinese medicine stores, you get like those white liquid, right? And you eat it, and it does solve your knee pain. But you know what else happens? You get Cushing syndrome because you have exogenous steroids inside your body. Because those are side effects that is not documented, and actually it's well documented in the medical literature, but it's not in alternative medicine because there's no checks and balances in alternative medicine. There's no researchers trying to check and balance alternative medicine. So those side effects go basically unnoticed, and that's the huge problem because now not only do you have knee pain, or maybe you don't have knee pain, that's great, but now you're gonna die because you have Cushing syndrome, right? You have too much steroids and you don't have it's very complicated. I don't want to explain it because I forgot, but it's true. Trust me on that, right? So, and plus, it's not like modern medicine is not from naturally occurring resources. Stuff like penicillin is from like fungi. It's just difference between modern medicine and alternative medicine is that it's well researched, right? And alternative medicine is not well researched. That's the huge difference, right? And even if it's safe, even if some parts of alternative medicine has remedial properties and is not actively harmful, actively promoting it is very harmful, right? And look, you mentioned about Trump being an example as a weak example, but here this is actually a very good example because this shows an authoritative figure promoting something that's harmful is very harmful because people believe them. They're authoritative figures. That's why the government should not actively promote alternative medicine, even if some of the alternative medicine works. For example, let's say acupuncture totally works, right? But then you have the people believing, oh, acupuncture works. That means that those other treatments work too. And then when they use the other treatments, bad things happen, right? Why? Because it's alternative medicine. It's not verified, etc., etc. I have more to go over, but I'll take your POI.
In the long term, in case of this kind of medicines are not accessible because you are just basically want this traditional medicine, so will you just let these kind of people just die in vain?
Look, we're not saying that we don't care about people. We care more about the people than our government does because the government doesn't care that poor people get worse medicine, and they don't care about the side effects and the ramification that comes when you give them really bad medicine, right? What we're trying to say is this alternative medicine approach is more harmful than it's not. We're not saying that I lost my steam, sorry. Okay. So look, first of all, it's worse if they cannot solve it, right? I've already proven that there are a lot of cases in which alternative medicine does not help the patient. So you spend even more money spending on the alternative medicine and then on modern medicine. That's a lot of money, and that's even worse for the poorer people, right? But secondly, now you have people who are over reliant on that alternative medicine. You mentioned that oh no, they won't be over reliant, and I was waiting for the elaboration there, but then you just said if they believe it works, they'll just keep doing it. That's bad. That's really bad because they're not treated for whatever things that they have, right? So it's definitely worse in government situation where if they trust it, then they will keep going on that medicine. They will never be treated, and then they will eventually die of whatever sickness that they got, right? Or they stop halfway, but they still spent that money, spent that time, and maybe even suffered even more side effects as a result of using very poorly researched and ineffective and harmful alternative medicine, right? So in all those scenarios, it's seen that alternative medicine is really bad, right? And even if you want to take the best possible example, let's say half of alternative medicine is good, half of it is bad, and you only want to promote the half, right? It does not matter. Like we said, having an authoritative figure, meaning say the government or doctors say, hey, use this traditional medicine, would validate every other form of alternative medicine to the point that, look, normal people are not going to be able to differentiate between good and bad, right? And it's going to be worse off as a whole because people are going to be affected by all these side effects and all. So aggressively promoting is bad, and you should not do that, right? So yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you to our opposition whip for that speech. Now the time of one. Now we have heard all the three speakers from both teams. We should take a short break of 1 minute. During this time, both the government and the opposition team will prepare the reply speech. The time of 1 minute has ended. Now I shall invite the opposition leader from the opposition side to deliver their reply speech.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I think I'm going to keep it very simple. The first question I think that we need to address, like the first clash in proving why side opposition takes the case today, is the question that government has tried to pose in answering that the answer is alternative medicine effective, and trying to frame this debate about whether alternative medicine is effective or whether it's not effective. The issue here is side opposition wants to point out it's not just about whether parts of alternative medicine are effective or not effective. It is whether parts of alternative medicine that are effective can justify all the other parts of alternative medicine, the vast majority of alternative medicine that is not effective, and whether it can justify an authoritative figure of a country promoting less researched, less well-known, and less reliable and less efficient therapies solely because they are not able to give access to medicine that they would prefer to have had they had the funding to give. And I think that that is a very important thing to highlight here, because I think the key crux issue with side government's approach is that the only reason why we'd want to give these people access to this medication is because that's the only thing that they can afford. And if you don't promote these things, then they're not going to be treated at all. And we think that that's a very misleading characterization of what would happen if you actively promoted like these unreliable therapies as genuine solutions. The issue here is that when an authoritative body decides that this form of therapy is legitimate, it makes it so that other people that were potentially on the fence about these therapies feel validation in seeking these therapies as an alternative to going to the doctor, to seeing modern medicine, to using modern diagnostic therapies or techniques in order to cut costs. And because we already know that there's a higher incentive for these people to go for these types of therapies, there is no real way to mitigate that harm. And they have not actually proposed any way to mitigate the harm of people foregoing years and years of modern medicine telling the scientific community not to trust these therapies. It doesn't avoid these people going for the cheaper option and potentially getting a worse result from it. And they don't actually explain how they're going to solve that problem, and they don't want to mitigate any of the risks that come from it, and instead saying that no, they shouldn't be held accountable because at the end of the day they could have made a choice. No, as you said, they didn't have a choice, so they can only go for what is available. And if you tell them that it's a viable option and it doesn't work, do you think they're going to trust you again? Do you think that they're going to believe you when you tell them to go get vaccinated during a pandemic? No. The integrity of scientific research and the applicability of people to believe in our governments and institutions and the responsibility that we put up to them, no, the government should be held accountable for what it promotes. And if it promotes things that are not based on factual research and do not have the same integrity, then obviously they should be held accountable for that. And this is even more damaging in the context of a developing country where people will be more likely to go for the cheaper option, will be less, that do not have these harms are more detrimental to them because they cannot afford to continuously find alternative treatments and not in the position to try many things all the time. They're going to be able to only afford one thing. In both paradigms, there are going to be people that can't afford modern medicine, and in both paradigms they can opt for the cheaper option anyway. So I don't know why it's mutually exclusive to them. The only thing that they're trying to argue is that, well, they'll be more likely to do that. But why should they be when the alternative is physically better for the people that are on the fence, the people that can afford it? Why are you convincing them too? They're going to be convinced by that stuff as well. And that creates as an overall more harm, because you're not only going to be promoting to poor people, you're going to probably be promoting it to an entire nation. So yeah, that mischaracterization I think is a really crux flaw in Gov's case and that hasn't really been addressed or engaged on. And with that, I think that's why Side Ops takes this debate. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the speaker for that speech. I shall now call upon the Deputy Prime Minister from the government team to deliver their reply speech.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
One, two, three. Choose the side opposition if you would rather live in a non-developed country, that you would rather live in a less developed country, that's just gonna harm the person even more. And the stakeholder are just gonna have to wait and wait until they achieve the country that they want, but more people will be harmed in today's debate. Now, before I continue to my prize speech and what I'm going to talk today, I'm going to talk a few things that they've never really touched. They've never really touched or the benefit that comes if this motion passes. We tell you things that developing country is really needs this kind of sector to be open, to make it even faster for developing country to be even better, to develop the infrastructure, to further cater for those who need, and then further have more capital resource to further help those people who are in harm in this stakeholder. Therefore, this type of government is even better in today's debate. Right? And then they simply never talk to us. They never talk to us on how situation developing in a developing country is going to harm those who are unable to access traditional medicine. They've never really stated to us on their side on how these people who are inaccessible to get traditional medicine is going to be cured at the end of the day. They've never talked to that. They just simply say to us, it's a government work. Look, this is why the opposition stays opposition. They've never become the government in the first place. Now, what am I going to talk in my today's debate, right? I'm going to talk to you about first, the long-term effect. If this motion passes, the impact of if this motion passes, the best case scenario in which side is better to cater to the stakeholder at the end of the day, right? We say that the side government is better because because of things that I've talked today in my government speech. First, I've talked to you on the fact that the benefit of alternative medicine. On second, I've talked to you on the benefits of if this motion passes for the developing country, which they never really talk about, and then a broader choice for those people in the stakeholder. And then I've talked to you about harms if this motion passes, development country, and the harms that comes with people who are unable to afford this meds, and development of country will be slow. Let's say at a long-term effect, right? If this motion actually passes, yes, in a very slow short-term effect, it will not be very ineffective. But but what we can see in a long-term effect, if this motion actually passes, is it can actually help, that this developing country to actually find more capital to actually further develop this country to be even better than those less developed country in what the side opposition wants. And that I've talked to you that this benefit is going to further benefit the stakeholders, such as the people who are sick, and the economy itself, which the side opposition doesn't really see. And I read that the opposition didn't even talk about that, And then we've talked to you on how alternative medicine is actually being governed and regulated under Ministry of Health. Even in the example Malaysia, which they simply say that people are just gonna eat habatus sauda until they probably die. Like, that's weird. What the side opposition thinks. And then I'm going to talk the impact of this debate. When we see that developing countries are getting enough capital to inject to make them even more developed. What we can actually see is that infrastructure such as hospital could be built even more, to cater for those sick people, so that it will be so that people will be accessible for hospital for them to be accessible to hospital. And that with this capital, they could further capital subsidize those people who are in harm if this motion does not pass, right? And then I've talked to you, which side is better to cater to the stakeholder. As what I have stated to you, the stakeholder here is like people who are sick, who are not accessible to this kind of traditional meds, and also economy. We say that the government cater to this situation better, and hence why the side government wins today's debate. Therefore, I am as the Deputy Prime Minister and also the reply speech person, would like to rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister for the reply speech. Now we have come to the end of the debate. First, the debaters are asked to remain in this room while we wait for the adjudicators to make a decision. Adjudicators are reminded to move to the adjudicators discussion room in the Cisco WebEx via the link provided beforehand to prepare the verbal adjudication of the winner side and the best speaker.
Hello, hi.
Hello, thank you for the debate.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for shouting you.
Amir,
It's okay.
in regards,
Yes.
Amir, sorry guys. In regards of the roll call, is still 4:30 ke? Since kita baru habis pukul 4.
Let me just ask them again.
Okay. Congrats guys, we ended.
Yeah.
What was the last? I
Round
thought there was one more
4.
round. Oh,
Yeah,
there's
There's
one
one more round.
Wait,
Yeah, I know.
One
I mean this debate lah, not next debate.
Yeah.
Oh my
All
god,
the
so
big
guys.
exciting.
Oh,
Four
Fourth
debates in a
round.
day. 4 debates in a day is so much. Usually it's like 2 or 3.
There's 5.
Wow.
Bro,
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
it's 4.
You're
It's
right.
4. I can't count. I can't
It's
count.
more.
Yeah,
What
it's
was
one.
yesterday?
It actually depends the number of the teams. Actually,
We don't
like
even have
16
that many
teams.
I
teams, do we?
see.
16, yeah, it should be around
Oh.
3 or yeah, 3. It should be sufficient.
Yeah, why do we have 5?
Well,
like-
to make it more exciting, I guess.
Oh my god.
Exciting lah, sangat.
To make it more stressful.
It's so stressful. It's like you're tired
Yeah.
for like so long, and then
Are you guys medical students?
only
Me and Ash
Mikhail
are.
and Ash.
I
Yeah.
see.
Oh,
I'm a psych student.
sex student.
Who was the one that rebutted my points that I actually gave the numbers for the pharmaceutical sector department?
Sandra.
Was it Sandra? Sandra. I was actually saying those numbers blindly. I can't believe I can't actually believe that he actually believed it.
I mean, obviously, there's no way for me to verify, but like,
Mr. Google.
Yeah, the roll call is still 4:30, unfortunately.
I see.
Seriously? Oh my god. Okay.
Well, actually, the debate is really good, but actually, you guys too focus on the alternative medicine versus the real medicine, traditional medicine. You should actually focus more about like alternative medicine, how to promote it, whether you should promote it or not. But you are too
yeah,
focused
it was
on
more-
debating
yeah.
whether those two things, like
Mhm.
fighting for those two things. Like
I think
alternative
we all
medicine,
shifted off topic a bit.
yeah,
here,
if
because, like, most
it's
of the
a
debate
bit
was
off
on
topic, yeah. Actually,
whether-
alternative medicines, there's a lot of it like acupuncture, reflexology, herbs. There's a lot more things like yoga. Like, should you not?
Is Cairo even alternative medicine?
Not
I'm
really.
not sure about that.
I think it's quite a hard burden on government because they have to prove that one certain alternative medicine works, which is obviously true, but they have to prove that they can promote it, but only the good parts, and somehow like bring down the bad parts.
They
I
don't
think it's
really
very
have a
hard.
mechanism to,
Yeah.
like, mitigate the harms of promoting-
Yeah, they need to mitigate the harms of like bad alternative medicine, which is a
Yeah.
bit difficult.
It shouldn't be a problem if you have more time to you, but like you won't have the world for you to search Google everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like training does help in the sense, like I'm not sure whether you guys do. Yeah, is this like your guys' first time debating IMU?
So as a team, it's our second time.
I see. I mean, like your first competition or second?
No, second competition as a team.
Hmm.
But I've
Nice.
debated in like high school here there lah.
I see.
Is this your guys' first time?
Yeah, in a while.
I see.
No, don't lie,
In a
don't
while.
lie.
Hey,
Obviously,
I-
it's not your first time.
It's my
I'm
first
first
time.
time.
You know
I'm
what?
first time. This is my first time.
Oh yeah, Adam's first time definitely. Like
Uh,
mine is like 2 years apart.
Yeah, for
So which
sure.
school are you from, Mikhail?
I'm from my mug. I'm from RMC.
RMC.
Wow.
Oh my god.
What's our
Royal Military College.
It's
Yeah.
a school. It's a school, Sandra.
I think I've debated back in high school. I've debated with RMC. Yeah, and I lose. You guys
So
are
you
good.
look familiar. Where are you from?
Oh, I don't think you know me.
Are
Obviously,
you sure?
I
How
don't-
old are you? How old are you?
21.
Oh,
That's the same age as me. That's the same age as me.
So have like okay. When did you debate like on 2016? The one that you can remember.
I only went to IIUM IDC.
This EDC, yeah, I went there as well.
Ah, there we go.
I think. Hey, I lose with you guys on IIUM. Yeah, I lose with you guys. Yeah.
Which
So
school
it
are
was
you from?
you. Oh, mine was like Technique 110. It was a technical
I
school.
didn't. You were
The one with
red shirt,
orange,
red shirt?
orange, yeah,
Orange,
orange
yeah.
one.
I feel
yeah.
like we debated against you. What?
Yeah, I think
I think-
Oh,
I think we did.
So you
I
know
think we
each other?
did.
we met
And reunion
again.
here, guys.
wait,
What
Ash
a
as well,
reunion.
Ash as
Reunion
well,
here.
or just Mikhail?
What
It's
Ash
a
is not from
sweet
RMT.
reunion.
It's an all boys school.
Oh, it's cool. I've never debated school. We only did like man and stuff.
Yeah,
See.
it's that very interesting, lah. Very interesting.
Yeah, like finally we met again. Oh,
Yeah.
our YouTube section comments.
Yeah.
Jejak kasih. Finally, it's happening again.
It was one of the later prelim rounds, right? Like it was like round 4,
Yeah,
round
I
5
think
or something. I feel like I remember. So that's so
Mhm.
crazy. That's so crazy. That's cool. That's
because
cool.
we're wearing that black and white T-shirt, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure.
There was a black and white shirt. Yeah,
Yeah,
we were definitely bold, right? Definitely no
yeah,
hair.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
That's cool. That's cool.
Luckily, they didn't wear the green uniform thing.
Oi,
I
itu
think we
lain
wore that
lah,
on
kan nanti ada
ada some days that we wore that, tapi tak ingat lah. I don't think we wore it. I
someone
think
will
on
be
the second day.
shouting over here. If not, pakai baju shirt hijau tu kan.
What do you study in UniKL? What do you guys
Oh,
study?
engineering technology.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
we're very suited
I
for
think-
STEM lah.
I think same goes to like Haziq as well. Haziq is mechanical. Adam is business management.
Oh, cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think this topic is definitely spot on your forte lah. You know, like
Not
medical.
mine, honestly. I know nothing about medicine.
You better win.
Yeah, but you guys went off topic a bit. Like, you should focus on how to promote it, not like fighting among alternative medicines and the traditional medicines.
All in all, I enjoyed the debate.
It was fun, yeah, that was for sure.
Yeah, I think the fact that I enjoyed, I think
Sir.
that what matters the most at the end of the day.
Well, let's hope that you have energy for the next round.
Oh my
Yeah, the
god.
last round. Oh, finally, the last round.
Why don't you just like sleep after?
Hopefully there'll be more rounds after that, right?
Yeah,
drain out.
quarterfinal,
Hopefully
semi-final.
for both of
final.
us.
Hopefully.
Who knows? Who knows? We can meet again.
Yeah. How many teams are there? There's
16.
4, 16.
16
Yeah.
teams.
There is 15, and one of it is like the from inside just to fill in.
Swing
I
team.
think
Yeah.
I think right
Yeah.
now is only 14 teams, right?
14,
Since
I
7
don't
rooms
know.
only.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
for now.
One team pulled out.
One team,
Echo,
one team
yeah.
went off. Yeah. Was it
So-
the AI team that left the AI?
Yeah. It's the
debate?
Let's Go AI team. That's why there's 7 rooms now, because the swing team and the
Oh.
AI team is gone. So now we only have 14
14
teams.
debaters.
So like more than half will break, right? For eight breakers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're back.
So you guys are on 2 wins, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're both on 2 wins.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you or my team win, I mean,
We
definitely
both have
focus
a chance to
on.
break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a tiebreak, right? Yeah.
Probably a tiebreaker, but I mean, hopefully,
Are there any teams
all of us
with
can make it.
There should be. There should be, I guess, 2 teams.
I mean, all teams on 3 wins will definitely book a spot for break.
Yeah.
Already? Yeah, for sure. Actually, yeah. 1, 2.
Oh, I think they're back.
There's 2 teams with 3 wins. There's 2
Alright.
teams with 3 wins.
It's like,
Patrick is back.
hey,
Yeah.
So I shall lend the floor to you.
Okay. So first, I'm gonna give my take on this debate, and then I'm gonna pass it to the other edges, and then once we have given all our feedbacks, we will announce the winner and the margin. So okay. So for this round, this house, as a developing country, will aggressively promote the use of alternative medicine. Okay. So for the Prime Minister, I think you could improve a little bit by focusing in this motion. You should focus more about the bad economy and how usually in developing countries the economy is really bad, and it's usually a majority of people earn really low. They have more higher concentration of poorer people, and their GDP, you can talk about that as well. So basically your job is trying to make the situation in this country really bad as possible, that maybe the government doesn't even have enough funds to do anything. You could have improved by talking about that. And you should have elaborated more about the stakeholders. So stakeholders, you know about the stakeholder pyramid, right? Where the most important stakeholders are at the bottom and the least important at the top. So of course, the most important stakeholders at the base of the pyramid is the people themselves, the citizens of the developing country. Then maybe it goes up to the hospitals, and then it goes up to the government, and then so forth. So you could have, for Prime Minister, you should have elaborated and expanded on the stakeholders. But you did give a really good status quo and also a very good mechanism, because you explained about how you intend to carry this out. Because this debate is actually this House will kind of motion. So it is a policy debate, which means you need a mechanism. You need a way to carry out your policy. And so you gave us education and regulations. However, you should have elaborated more on this. And in fact, your deputy prime minister should have talked more about this mechanism as well, because that is where most of your points will go to. Right now, your points are mostly about the benefits and how traditional medicine is costly, the benefits of alternative and how traditional medicines are more costly. So this is good because it helps us understand why alternative medicine should be considered. However, it doesn't actually tell us much about how you intend to aggressively promote alternative medicine. So take note, you need to find a way to read the motion, understand what the motion is actually asking from you. Don't you have to like answer the motion basically. Don't just give what you think we want to think. So, and one last thing, you should also define the word promote. You should really give a clear definition of the meaning of the word promote, because I think aggressively promote would be one way for you to make it clear to the adjudicators what it is your stand is all about. Like, I don't think you mentioned much about. Yeah, I did not see any definition for promote, so that's something to think about. Whereas for the leader of opposition, right, you gave a lot of points. However, I think you frame your points as rebuttals. So the problem with this is that when you talk about no rigorous scientific methodology and people become over reliant on alternative medicine and too many options to choose from. So this is framed as a rebuttal. The bad thing about that is, even though you got a lot of points, it is a very shallow point. There's not enough analysis in this points. It's like a touch and go sort of thing. So you give a lot of points, but if it's too shallow, it doesn't give much strength to the points. But for leader of opposition, you did actually follow what the motion is asking us, what the motion is all about for the opposition, because in this case, the burden of proof falls on the government. The government has to prove why we need to aggressively promote the use of alternative medicine. Whereas the opposition, you don't actually have to present any proof at all. You can just say there is no need to promote the use of, no need to aggressively promote. You can also talk about how we can promote, but we don't have to aggressively promote it. That's one lane you can go down. So the opposition actually has many options to choose from. But instead, you went and talk about how we should not be aggressively promoting alternative medicine, which fair enough, it's fine. But yeah, you just keep in mind that there are many ways to approach this if you're in the opposition, since you do not have to be burdened by the burden of proof, as unlike the government. So for Deputy Prime Minister, okay, so statistics, you gave us statistics. Keep in mind that we got no proof whether you Googled it or not, and I don't really care either way. But try not to use statistics as your main, your main strength, the main crux of your point, because statistics can be plucked from anywhere. Anyone can cherry pick statistics. I could just come up with a statistic in my head. So for adjudicators, we don't really take into account statistics unless you have, an analogy to back up your statistic. Maybe, for example, you can explain in this particular situation in this developing country how that money, that profit that you get in alternative mechanism, that statistic that you get really directly affects this developing country, how it matters in this specific scenario. So for Prime Minister, for Deputy Prime Minister, that's all. Just keep in mind that you do not need to come up with statistics. Other than that, your points are fine. It's brilliant. It's okay, no problem. Because you talk about how benefits if the motion can pass and what happens if it doesn't pass. That's fine. But I wish you could have, go into depth about how you intend to carry this out, because this is a motion that requires implementation. Now, for the deputy leader of opposition, I think most of your points are also in the form of rebuttals. But there is this one thing that you mentioned, how you said you should have made modern medicine more accessible to people instead of focusing on alternative medicine. I don't think you realize this, but this is actually a very decent alternative mechanism. Since you are opposition and you decide to not promote alternative medicine, you should be able to provide an alternative mechanism to this, to not promoting alternative medicine. So this is actually an alternative mechanism, but you didn't really go into detail about why it is so important to make modern medicine more cheaper, more affordable. Because this is actually a very, very good point that can actually take down the government's one of the government's point, where the government said there's sick people cannot afford regular medicine and people will suffer because they cannot afford medicine, blah blah blah. But you could have actually gone into detail about it, but you didn't. So so I cannot really give you marks I cannot award you marks, because again, it's a touch and go. You just talk about it and then you leave, but you didn't give enough analysis. If you had given me more analysis about what you intend to do by making modern medicine more accessible, then I would be able to work with that. Okay, but I can't, since it's just a one sentence kind of thing. People waste money on treatment. Okay, no, that's nothing. So for government whip, very good. You listed down the clashes. Unfortunately, I noticed, this is in general for the government, I noticed that there is a lot of contradictions on the government side, which actually the opposition should have been able to detect it and should have been able to talk about it, but most of the contradictions were not detected by the opposition, so I couldn't give marks to the opposition. These are some of the contradictions you made. First of all, people can choose, people are poor, however they will spend more money in the end because they will spend more money on alternative medicine. So if they are poor, I don't think they can spend money on alternative medicine or conventional medicine either way. So, and another one more is that you want people to choose both alternative medicine and traditional medicine. You are okay with them choosing both. The problem with this is that you make your stand weaker. You dilute the stand of aggressively promoting alternative medicine. So when you want to promote when there's the word aggressively promote alternative medicine, it doesn't make sense for you to still allow both alternative and without discouraging conventional medicine, because these two things are actually exclusively they do not these are this alternative medicine and traditional medicine, these are what you say, if you draw a Venn diagram, these are two sets that do not intersect, because alternative medicine is not the same as traditional medicine. So you should, if you want to aggressively promote alternative medicine, you should focus more on promoting alternative medicine and downplaying regular medicine. And it would have been valid. If you gave me this point, it would have been valid, because this is a developing country. So it wouldn't be no problem if you want to promote alternative medicine instead. I would not blame you for that. However, you also mentioned if people the one thing that the opposition managed to detect is if people have to take both treatments, then they will spend more money in the end. So that's one thing that the opposition found, which, okay, fine, you got that contradiction. The last contradiction is that you said in the reply speaker said alternative medicine may not be effective in the short term, or is it long term, but it will benefit the economy. So here's the thing. I'm left wondering if you actually care about the health or you care about the economy. Because so far, all the government speakers, I'm not really sure if you want to focus more on health or if you want to focus more about the economy of the country. So if alternative medicine is not effective in the first place, so why would you want to use it? So be careful. Do not contradict yourself there. That's it. That's just general for government. For government whip, still it's fine. Everything is fine. You did talk about the clash, so no problem there. Good. Last one for opposition whip. you gave a lot of very good rebuttals, which should have come up in the second speaker. It should not have come up so late, but it's still all right. It's just that it'll be more impactful if the second speaker or first speaker came up with the rebuttals. For example, if even if alternative medicine is safe, sorry, no, not that one. Yes, this one. Even if it solves one problem, like alternative medicine solves one problem, it can create another problem. This is something that should have come up in the second speaker, because if you bring it up in the third speaker, it's a bit late, and by that point, most people would not, award so much marks to this, because it almost sounds like a new point. You see, however, I choose to accept it as a deeper level of analysis, so it's fine. So for opposition whip, you managed to convince me. Only opposition whip managed to convince me that alternative medicine could be dangerous. As as a regular human being, because Edge can't, as Edge, we are not supposed to be biased or anything. So even as a regular human being, it is a general opinion that people should never allow treatment if there is not enough sufficient evidence, clinical trial to back it up. That is why it is conventional medicine. So somehow opposition managed to convince me that we should not give alternative medicine without sufficient clinical trials and all that. So yeah, that's all from me. I'll welcome the other adjudicators to give their opinion.
The other educators, if you are at YouTube, if you want to give any comments, you just can come into the premiere because there are two empty spots. Mr. Patrick, are the other educators will be giving any comments?
Yes, they should be giving comments, I think, but I'm not sure. Are they in the backstage?
I'm not sure, but they should be watching from YouTube.
Okay, maybe we just give them one more minute to come in. Otherwise, we have to move on because the next debate is going to start
Yeah.
very soon. We don't want to drag. Oh, so one of the edge say they can't join StreamYard. Is there a technical issue?
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the edge said they can't enter. Hold on, yeah. All right, never mind. They said most of the feedback has been addressed, so I guess we'll just move on to announcing the winner of this round. Okay, so with a margin of 3, so it's a very close debate. I can't tell you how close, yet it is unanimous. We gave the win to side opposition. So thank you everyone. If you'd like to get personal feedback on how you spoke, you can come to us personally, or you can come to us after this for personal feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
With that,
Thank you
the,
so much.
the motion given is not accepted. The motion is rejected. Thus, this house, as a developing country, will not aggressively promote the use of alternative medicines. So that's all for the debate today. With that, the House of Parliament is adjourned. Thank you. Good luck on your next day.
Alright, thank you, Ame. Thank
All
you. Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you, Ame.
Good
Bye.
luck.
All
Good
right.
luck for
Thank
the
you.
next
Good
one.
luck. Good luck, guys.